Autism is a disease that can affect others to not be able to do stuff like all of the other people, but it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Autism's like a sickness that people can be born with.
Something with the brain. I don't really know.
Okay, so autism is kind of like a mental disorder, kind of like it deals with how your brain functions.
I would consider autism like kids with an extra chromosome, that it makes things harder for them, but they can still do things. It just makes it more challenging for them. I think those kids are usually more like laid back and sweet and the type of kids that you can connect to easier, but they just have things harder for them.
Maybe something that represents, somebody having a certain disability, maybe. I don't know.
It's like a disorder. A genetic disorder. It's a genetic disorder that causes kids to learn different.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects the behavior of someone.
Autism is a mental condition characterized by difficulty in communicating and forming relationships with other people. Autism is not a bad thing, it's just different.
Is when they have different challenges and then they have to find a different way to handle them and they learn differently.
Sensory neural disorder that people have. They don't really understand why it happens. Studies prove that it's not linked to vaccines, but it affects the person's ability to deal with sensory issues around them.
An estimated 1 in 68 children in America will be affected by autism.
It is also one of the fastest growing developmental disorders.
It also will occur in all racial, social, socioeconomic groups, but are 5 times more common among boys than girls.
It's a lot more common than people think, and I see it in like public places, schools.
Autism can be found
even,
all around. People are known to have it in school.
I see it mostly at my home because my older and both my younger brother also have it, but I can see it usually when I walk around town. I see it sometimes.
I have family, and then
Most of the times at school, seeing it there, and then sometimes you can see it out in public places.
I see it in school, in the lunchroom, passing each other in the hallways.
We are finding that, because we're a high school district only, that we are having increasing numbers with kids with autism, and I feel like over the next couple years, those numbers are only going to increase because of the recent diagnosis of kids.
People with autism are, usually they're really creative people and they're really down to earth and so kind and everything.
You gotta treat them just like they're normal people. You can't just sit there and make fun of them or treat them a little different. They're just normal people and they kind of want the respect that you would give someone who doesn't have autism.
Are really sensitive, maybe sensitive to sound, sensitive to textures, sensitive to light and things like that. But they're still just normal people that have opinions and they have feelings and they have likes and dislikes, and they shouldn't be necessarily treated differently than what we'd say normal people.
My name is Mrs. Mashoff, and I am the special ed coordinator here at the high school, and I'm also the dean of students. I've been doing this job at the Nashville for about 9 years, but I have been in special ed for about 16. It's very important that when we sit down as a team to talk about students with disabilities that we talk about the uniqueness of each child. So every kid has a different program that they get designed by their team of teachers and supervisors. And what we do basically is we just talk about strengths and weaknesses, and then we come up with a plan for each kid. And no kid's plan is exactly alike. Some kids may take all regular ed. Some kids are in more special ed classes where their classes are smaller, where they get that unique individual help.
Okay, my name is Erica Nabalski. I teach at Nashville Community High School. I teach psychology and government. I'm married and I have 2 sons. I have, the oldest is Noah, he's 4, and Eli is 2. Noah has been diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed a little after he was 2 years old.
Hi, my name is Michelle Goostree, and I teach at Nashville High School, but I'm also a parent of a child with autism. My son Jack was diagnosed with autism when he was 8, and that's kind of late for a diagnosis, but we had spent a variety of years trying to get to the bottom of some of his behaviors that we just felt weren't quite age appropriate and were maybe causing his developmental delays.
If something is too loud, he puts his hand over his ears and he has a really hard time with that. Also with lights, he's very sensitive to light. Also, he sometimes has a hard time communicating still what he wants and how he feels. So sometimes that can be frustrating for him.
So not wanting to make eye contact, not feeling comfortable with people being in their personal space, although sometimes then they'll intrude on your personal space and not really understand what they're doing. People who don't understand facial expressions, like we can nonverbally communicate, but not everybody with autism understands that or understands sarcasm and may not understand like little inside jokes or why something's funny because they're very literal people. As Jack gets older, one of my biggest fears is how he's going to be able to live in the adult world that doesn't necessarily have the patience or the tolerance for individuals who are different, where the job opportunities don't really exist, where kindness sometimes seems to not be as frequently given sometimes because we're adults and we're busy people and we have our own issues that we're dealing with.
Being kind, because Jack is kind unconditionally, and everyone's different, and they say don't judge a book by its cover and all that stuff, but Jack just loves unconditionally, and I don't know how to say what I want to say. I guess he's just taught me to be a more kinder, compassionate person. Because he's kind of compassionate.
I'm Henry Robert. I like a jungle book.
Hey, you're throwing it at my buddy again. Okay. You're throwing it at my buddy.
They all slid off.
No points.
That's none.
Donuts.
Oh, Hannah, straight in. That was a swish. Good one. Marcy, you're doing good. Oh. Good job, guys.
My name is Jack, and I have autism.
Yes.
So, this is Ryan Bass, and he suffers from Asperger's syndrome, and he's just going to tell us a little bit about things that might help him during the school day.
Dealing with Asperger's, you're trying to process a million things at one specific moment. When it comes to a normal student, they can process what the teacher's saying, but somebody with Asperger's, it's like bouncing all over the place. I normally try to think of something during class that I could use it to help remember what the teacher has said or has helped out with most of mathematical equations or some sort of science equation.
Okay. So, we're talking about socialization and students with Asperger's. So, Ryan, tell us a little bit about the struggles you might have when you have or encounter social interactions.
Somebody with Asperger's, we don't get social cues. We don't get when someone doesn't want to talk about something. We don't really pick up on a lot of things. But when someone says that we look like a 20 or a 19-year-old and a mindset of a 12-year-old, well, that's kind of not that far off. It's just we might not pick it up right then and there, but we can pick up a lot more things than what some people give us credit for.
You notice somebody struggling, don't just turn away from them. Ask if you can help, because, and they may not accept your help, but just simplest acts of kindness, whether it's a person with a disability or not, can really make the difference in the world.